Welcome back to Figuring It Out. I'm Rachel Lee, and today's episode is one I've carried in my body, my memory, in my heart for years. This one is about the wound. Not the kind that leaves visible scars, but the kind that changes the way you breathe, the way you move, the way you trust, the way you see yourself. And before we go any deeper, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not the wound. You are not what happened to you. You're the one who survived it. You're the one who kept going, even when you didn't know how. Also, I want to be very clear and respectful. When I talk about trauma or wounds today, I'm not referring to long-term abuse or repeated violence. The kinds of experiences that require deep, ongoing professional support. Today's conversation is about the emotional wounds so many of us carry. The betrayal you didn't deserve, the heartbreak that cracked something open, the abandonment that taught you to pretend you didn't need anyone, the shame that made you smaller, the disappointment that made you doubt yourself, the moments that didn't show up on your skin, but definitely showed up in your identity. And here's the truth. Sometimes the wound isn't even the moment itself. It's everything you started believing about yourself afterward. So let's talk about that. There's a version of you living inside your patterns, your body, your nervous system, who still thinks you're stuck in the moment where everything went wrong. The moment something cracked your sense of safety. For me, the clearest trauma memory is being raped by a family friend at the age of 12. And the most complicated part wasn't the act itself. It was everything that followed, right? It was the silence, the shame that no one helped me process, the confusion of being a child carrying something too big for any child to understand. And from that point on, I didn't build a personality. I built armor. I became the girl who didn't need anything, the girl who smiled while breaking, the girl who numbed with food, cigarettes, alcohol, work, performance, anything to quiet the pain. I took pride in being strong and resilient. But what I thought was strength was actually survival. And underneath all of it, I didn't like myself. I didn't trust myself. And I definitely didn't feel safe being me. Now, people think that trauma is just what happened, but trauma is also the story your brain kept telling you afterward. Stories like, I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I can't trust anyone, I can't trust myself, people always leave, love just doesn't work for me, something must be wrong with me. These stories don't feel dramatic, they feel familiar. And your brain loves familiar, even if familiar hurts. So you recreate the same patterns. You date the same emotionally unavailable people. You stay in friendships where you overgive. You pretend you don't have needs. You walk into every room looking for danger instead of belonging. Not because you're broken, but because your survival identity is still running the show. You've outgrown that version of you, but your body hasn't gotten the memo. And trust me, let me just say this to you. My healing didn't start with some magical movie moment. It started quietly, actually. And it started with the fact that I was listening to this book called how to unfuck yourself. And this line in the book is actually what stopped me. He says in there something to the effect of, you may not know what you want, but you can sure figure out what you don't want. And when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I can definitely do that. I don't know what I want, but I do know what I don't want anymore. Because I didn't exactly know what healing looked like. And I didn't know what the next version of me would be. But here's what I did know. I didn't want to keep performing. I didn't want to keep shrinking. I didn't want to keep abandoning myself, even though at the time I didn't even know that I was. So let's be clear on that, right? I didn't want to keep pretending I didn't need love or support. And I didn't want to keep not liking myself or hating myself, rather, right? And just so you know, it's not something where you walk around and you're constantly just telling people, well, I hate myself today. No, that's not how it looks. And that's not what you tell people, right? You tell everybody that you're fine. And then you have a moment like this and you realize that something has shifted within you. And it's a whisper, a nudge, a knowing. And for me, this was the first crack in the wall that I had built around myself. And when I figured out that I wanted to see what healing, looked like for me, right? I realized after getting into it that healing isn't pretty. It isn't a vibe, a journal, a cool color palette. Healing looks like sitting on your floor at 2 a.m. asking yourself, is this really the life I want? It looks like setting boundaries even when your voice shakes. Letting yourself feel emotions you've numbed for years. Emotions that maybe you didn't even know you had. It can look like walking away from people you love because they don't treat you well. And they never did. It also looks like meeting the younger version of you, the one who took the hit, who built the armor, who carried the shame, and saying, you're safe now. I'm here. And we don't have to live like that anymore. And that moment changes everything. And I'll be honest with you, I don't fully remember who I was before the wound, before that trauma happened. And I don't think I'm supposed to. When trauma happens to somebody that young, you don't have a clear before version of yourself to return to. There isn't a memory of who you were without the armor, because the armor was built before you ever learned who you could be. And that's why healing can feel confusing. You're not trying to get back to some old self you barely remember. You're not trying to rewind the tape. You're not trying to find a childhood identity that never had the chance to form. Because my trauma happened so young, I don't remember a before me. So my healing isn't about going back. It's about choosing who I am now on purpose and meeting the version of me who finally feels safe enough to exist. And that version of me, the one emerging now, the one who feels grounded, honest, clear, soft, and strong, she isn't something I went back to. She's someone I built, someone I've created, someone I allowed, someone I uncovered from underneath all the survival patterns. This is the part of healing most people don't talk about. You don't have to remember who you were before the wound to become someone you're proud to be after it. Your healing is happening right now in the choices you make, in the beliefs you rewrite, in the softness you allow, in the person you decide to be today. So wherever you are right now, take a breath, place your hand on your heart, your stomach, your chest, wherever the tension lives in your body, and ask yourself, what version of me have I been hiding? What beliefs did the wound teach me that aren't true anymore? What have I outgrown but still carry out of habit? What part of me is asking to be seen again? Who am I ready to be now? And the answers that you're looking for to those questions, the answers are inside you. You've just been surviving too long to hear them. Your healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about releasing the version of you that pain created and stepping into the person you finally feel safe being. Reclaiming your softness, your voice, your needs, your truth, your worth, your humanity. You're not the wound. You're not the wound. You're the one walking out of it. You're not what happened. You're what's happening now. You were never broken. Do you hear me? You were never broken. You were just protecting yourself. And now, you're free to be more than the moment that hurt you. And I just want to take this moment and say to everyone listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for choosing yourself, even if it still feels a little shaky. If this episode touched you in any way, please share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their healing either. You can message me on Instagram at Figuring It Out with Rachel, or send me an email at, again, figuringitoutwithrachel@gmail.com. And tell me what this brought up for you. You don't need a map to heal. You just need a moment, one moment, to decide you matter. And you do. And if you ever need that reminder, reach out to me, because I will be more than happy to remind you of it. I'll see you next time, right here on Figuring It Out.